Welcome to Quick Start Tarot. I'm Stephanie Neal, and I'm glad you entered this workshop. Now we have lots to cover here, so let's get started. As the introduction, let's talk about the deck of cards. And the deck holds 78 cards, two main sections. The major arcana holding 22 cards. The minor arcana holds 56, which are divided further into 4 suits, 1 through 10, which are called the pips, and 4 court cards within each suit. And we're going to read with the minors only today, or our focus is just the minors today. And with the minors, they represent the everyday life, lessons, just focusing in on how you approach life, how you deliver your gifts to the world. And then the major arcana represents the archetypes and the spiritual side of life. When I say archetypes, I mean the father figure, the mother figure, the sister figure, the warrior and the warrioress, the champion. That's what I mean by archetypes. And then just the overall universal teachings of humankind and the cycles of evolution. And as Papa said it, it's the book of everything. I have always liked that. So the first, you want to select a deck. So I would suggest the Rider-Waite tarot deck, because 90% of the decks out there are based on the Rider deck. And yet know that the Rider-Waite deck is based on this. Pull it up here. Let's see if I can get it correctly. All right. The Marseille deck. And it's also based on the Solabusca deck. And it's also based on the master deck of the Golden Dawn. And yet know that all of those decks are based on dozens and dozens and dozens of earlier decks. They're like the Visconti, the Madrone, the Carriel Visconti. So there's tons that those 3 decks were based on. Here's one example of the Solabusca tarot deck. The reason why I'm showing an example of this is that the first time where people placed scenes, drawings on the pips, on the minor arcana, happened with the Solabusca deck. Then years and years and years later, Waite, Rider, and Smith created the drawings on their deck. And so with the Golden Dawn Master deck, which was a hermetic deck and has been lost through time, at least for now, because you know how that goes, that maybe a year from now, something is uncovered in a lost library someplace, or excavation is going on and something is unearthed. So that's always a possibility that new things will change history. And essentially, Waite, Aleister Crowley, and Case expressed their thought specifically Hermetic thought through their decks. You see, one of the requirements at a certain rank was to create a tarot deck based on the Golden Dawn Master Deck, which once again, it's not around anymore. But both Waite and Case created the deck as instructed. And of course, there was a little bit of debate there, and it still exists, that, well, who copied who kind of thing. Well, in a sense, they really didn't copy anything because they were basically following instructions to follow the master deck. But however, Crawley, though he is a person that walked by his own drumbeat. So he based his deck on the Italia's deck. And Italia basically believed that tarot came from the Egyptians, and specifically it came from the Book of Thoth. And also Crawley added much Hermetic thought in his deck. And in fact, he named his deck with the same title, the Book of Thoth. Now, the Book of Thoth was based on the original Book of Thoth, basically created, well, centuries earlier. And yet, according to Italia, the original Book of Thoth was created in 2170 BC during a convention of magicians in the Temple of Ammon in Memphis, Egypt. So there's no proof of this book anywhere, and that was quite a long time ago. So once again, history can change through excavation. Then there are decks that show Hermetic thought, if that's your interest. The Hermetic Tarot deck, both books of Thoth decks. Let me see, there's one deck here that was based on the Italia book. Is that deck, and it's the Book of Thoth by Italia. And there's the Golden Dawn Tarot, that was based on their teachings. There's the initiatory Golden Dawn Tarot deck. So there's lots to choose from. But this is why having the Rider-Waite deck as your foundation is important, because it is steeped in history. And most decks, once again, are based on it. Plus the Marseille is absolutely, can be studied also, but that doesn't have any scenes on the pips or the minor arcana. And some people prefer that they simply can read it and connect to their intuition and their psychic abilities, and they don't need scenes. However, most people do enjoy scenes with the cards. And of course, the Busca is in fact based on too many decks to list. Then move on to current decks or remain in history. I mostly use the Waite Rider deck, but I certainly enjoy other decks, and I will be showing you one later. But yet you might want to visit the aeclectic.net, because they have a long list, in fact, of most cards out there. And what they do is they show you at least 3 to 6 cards to give you some idea about the deck. And that's wonderful. However, you could go to stephanieleonneal.com, which you will find many, not as much as the aeclectic, but many decks that are flip-throughs. Now, a flip-through is where a person shows the card and shows it quickly, but shows every single card without speaking about it. It's just about the cards. And usually flip-throughs might last maybe between 3 to to 8 minutes. So it goes pretty fast. And then at the end of the flip through, you have lots of good information to decide if you like that deck, if it meets your purposes, and you just have a nicer way to really think about and make a good decision in selecting your next deck. Then also, I would suggest to listen to several reviews, just not one, because sometimes if you just listen to one, that individual might be very negative about that deck, and then you may draw a conclusion about that. But then if you go ahead and listen to other reviews and you find out that that deck just wasn't their cup of tea for the initial reviewer, and then you find out that many others just love the deck, or there might be a fantastic reviewer and they just might omit a few things, which is that's fine. But then when you listen to other reviewers, they cover those aspects that the first reviewer presented. So you don't have to read a lot of reviews, but just not one. Then you want to consider the size, and basically it's about comfort. And yet people will feel uncomfortable with the large cards, but see, with the large cards, it shows and it reveals so much more of the scene, and I think that's a good thing. And later I'm going to show you a quick shuffle so that anyone can do it, no matter the size of their hands, because some people will say, well, my hands just aren't big enough to deal with a large card, but I'll do that just a couple minutes. Now, card care, essentially protect them by placing it in a box. I just use cigar boxes, and they work just fine. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy, it doesn't have to be anything expensive. It works. Or you can wrap your decks in a cloth or place it in a cloth bag. It's up to you. And when dealing with the new cards, there's times that you'll have cards literally be sticking together. And the best way to remedy that is just shuffle the cards. And sometimes there'll be a few that are just sticking like glue. It's just amazing. Then just take the corner and just flip it, and then you'll hear the snapping, the cracking, which they're being released with each other. Then when shuffling and laying out cards in the spread, place them on a soft, plushy tablecloth, and use a felt or velvet tablecloth, or just a piece of cloth. Or if you don't have that, you can just use a large tablecloth folded several times to make it a little plushy. And this is mine. Again, I know you won't be able to see that it's velvet, but this is mine. You see, this keeps the cards from chipping on the sides, especially if the deck has dark borders where chipping is more obvious because of the color. So since I enjoy dark borders, well, I enjoy all the borders. I even like the borderless. Let me show you an example even of a borderless. Here's a borderless card. But I do like dark borders. And I happen to have a chip on one of my black borders, so I'm going to show you what happened, if you can see it. I'm going to kind of make it obvious up against the other black borders. I don't know if you can see it right there. If you can't, that's fine. But basically, here's the black really shows up a chip. Now, I'm not worried about this because in fact it is black, and I'll probably just use a black marker and cover it up and it'll be good to go. Then with taking care of your cards, you'll have a deck, and pull this back and pull this back so you can see it. And that you put all the cards in and one jams or two jams and you start pushing it down, which causes chips. And so what you simply do is put your finger here, lift it up, and just put it in the back of the deck. Good to go. Someone would say, yes, but I have all my cards in order and now it's not in order. Well, you know, you just put one card in the back of the deck and you just have to put it back to where you want it. Then in protecting your LWB, well, the LWBs are a little white book and they can get destroyed by just shoving them in the box, and they'll get bent and just messed up. So, and to protect the LWB, you just slip it any place in the center. It doesn't even have to be in the center. And then you just place it back in the box. And you know how the little white books just get destroyed so fast. Now, cleansing your deck. Now, if you're not into dealing with energies at this point of time, that's cool, because the universe protects the person working with if you have good intentions dealing with the cards. You really don't have to follow. Okay, you must cleanse it with putting it out into a full moon for 6 nights or 3 nights or the first night or the last night, and you really don't have to get into that if that's just not your cup of tea. But yet there are people that do appreciate the idea of working with the energies. And so I basically just shuffle the cards to cleanse them, especially, let's say if I have 3 readings back to back, I'll just shuffle them enough to feel that, all right, they feel right, and I'm ready to go. Other people may use sound to cleanse their deck with a little bell, incense. Sage is good because, in fact, it is in fact a cleanser. Now we're talking about cleansing. We're not talking about, oh, we're cleansing off bad things. No, it just means that sometimes objects can tend to build up energy, and it just needs to be swept away a little bit, or a little bit of unfocused energy is built up through use, and it's just returning things to its normalcy, and that you don't have that buildup, and if that's your belief system. But basically, just do what feels right to you. Now, with shuffling the deck, I'm going to show you 3 ways to shuffle a deck, and I'm going to grab my cigar boxes here so I can level it up to the camera. All right. And then, of course, I'll have to stand up because, of course, normally you're not going to have your table this high as you're shuffling. But this is called the rifle shuffle. You basically split your deck into 2 stacks, holding the pile in each hand, and you can place your index fingers behind the deck, bend the cards slightly, and it's just that simple. And do it, however amount you want. You don't want it to be too long. And the other method is that you do the same thing, but you lay it more on the table, and you just grab. And I don't use this method at all, by the way, so that's why it's awkward. Where they just grab the corners and then pull it into one stack. Yeah, so that was but bending the cards to me feels more comfortable, and especially I'm doing this, with my shoulders up to my ears because of the height. Then it's the mixed shuffle, or this is also called the washing cards. And the mixed shuffle is, grab a pile here. Now, since I won't show you how it's done because it'll just be too difficult, but essentially you just throw the deck on this flat surface, and let's see, this is really okay. So you just put your cards on a flat surface that they're going to be falling off, and you just do that. You just do this with the card, just mixing them on the flat surface all over the place, just mixing them with your both hands till they're thoroughly mixed. In fact, this is the best way to make sure that you have a thorough mixing. But then when everything is a complete and utter mess here, as these cards are showing, then you just grab them up like I just did, and then you drop them. And then turn them. It was that fast to put them all together. So it's just dropping and turn. I'm going to do that with the large cards, as I promised earlier. Same deal. Once again, a big mess. Just drop them. They will just fall into place. And then you have you see that was easy with working with gigantic cards. Let me see. All right, put this back. All right, next, what is tarot? And once again, this is a quick start lesson. So in general terms, it is the universal map. It's a mind map. Tarot is a machine that allows, well, objective integration to take place. It's a story of everything. It's your story. It's a catalyst to help you zero in on what is in your ancient mind, not the other way around. It's not helping you read them. It is helping you read what is already in your intelligence, world intelligence. So the first reading, and we're moving on to the first reading, is, well, keywords. That's what it really comes down to. Now, I'm going to be reading you maybe 3-4 keywords for each set. What I mean by set is every king has a general meaning. All 4 kings, same meaning, general. All 4 queens, same thing, general meaning, and so on, all 2s, all 3s, all 4s. And so as I'm informing you about the key words, just select one for now to get you started. So grab a little notepad, I have a little notepad, or if you use index cards, which I tend to mostly use the index cards. Everyone knows what an index card is. And, essentially, it's basically a list. Just write a list on one of these. And so let's go. Let's start backwards. That's always good to do. All right, here are the 4 kings. No. This king happens to be floating on the sea. His throne is on the sea. Okay. Innovator, qualified, knowledge, and study. The queens. Now, who's holding court here? The queen or the cat? Courage, diplomacy, differences respected. Knights. Actionable steps, engagement, expansion. Pages. This definitely expresses to me. Anyone feel like a fish out of water? This is really a good one. Keywords for pages is new quest, new interest, pilgrimage. Yeah. Tens, right? Happy card. Completion, pinnacle, powerful force, new experience. Nines. Rewarding, satisfying, attainment, overflowing. And also, even though with the 9s, you'll see, okay, this doesn't seem like a satisfying experience. But sometimes there's lots of things, lots of obstacles a person has to cross or needs to cross over, pass over, break through. So being successful isn't all fun and games. Many times there's rough roads to be walked as we move through and end up to where we want to be. So it's not all sunshine when moving towards your own goal. Yeah. Then we have 8s. Moving forward, taking action, and heeding the call. Seven. Prepared, seasoned, qualified, discernment. Seven, you can go to 6. have overcome through perseverance and relief. Five. Okay, 5. A change or a shift, trying again, passion. Yeah. Firm foundation, stability, knowing your limits. We have 3. Create the situation. Create opportunity. 2. 2 right away is choice, decision, partnership, resourcefulness. And aces. 1. New ideas, firsts, regeneration, and giving. All right. So there you have your keywords ready to go. And once again, you can change any of these words that feels comfortable. So now you have your keywords, and you're ready to interpret your minors. Now we're going to do the spread. Now the spread, pull out 7 pieces of small, with a notebook, notepad, or the index card. So you have 7 little sheets of paper in front of you. So the first piece of paper, you're going to place the seeker's question. Now you don't have to write it down, because sometimes you can start interpreting for several minutes and then you realize that sometimes it might drift off just a little bit, and then that helps you pull back into the main focus of what the seeker wants to know. And so it's good to write it down. And so basically the first sheet of paper is about that. So you first ask the seeker what the question is. And then you take the question, and I'm going to use a question that seems to be prevalent at times, and yet I'm going to try to keep it more general, and it's, how may I move past this issue? So that's a good question. Then you just place that aside. And what you're doing is that you're keeping it in mind as you're writing this question down, or tucking it back in your mind. And as you're looking at all of your spread, you're looking for answers, you're looking for reasons, you're looking for hope in relation to the seeker's question. You're looking for the whys and the hows. Then you have 6 other sheets of paper or index cards, and lay those out, and we're going to list each one as the first position, second position, up to the 6th position. Now, position just is a term that's used in tarot world, that that's just how we refer to each segment of this line of cards. We just assign, we just refer to them as positions. So on the first index card, write first position or something that is equivalent to that. Then write the question. What happened in the past, which is the reason you are asking this question. I'll say that again. What happened in the past, which is the reason you are asking this question. Second position, what are your assets and resources you should be using? What are your assets or your resources that you should be using? And yes, you can shorten that sentence if you choose. Then third position is what opportunities are coming to help you? What opportunities are coming to help you? In fourth position, what can you give yourself to gain opportunities? What can you give yourself to gain opportunities? Fifth position, how are you going to attain it? Sixth position, why you want this in your life. Why you want this in your life. Returning back to the main question, because I have it written down here. How may I move past this issue? All right, I don't have my glasses on. Now lay each index card or a little paper on the table, just in a line with the first position, the number one, the first question on the left, and line them up from left to right. And by the way, you just created a spread. Now shuffle your minor arcana cards and place one card on each index card or piece of paper with the question on it. Oh, and if you happen to, as you're laying it out and you come up with a reversal, which is upside down, just flip it up and now it's not upside down and upright. Because we're not talking about reversals right now. So then, once again, then you lay the 6 cards upward, face up on each of these questions. Now, I'm going to stop here, just think about this. As we are returning our focus on the question, that's one aspect to consider, because many times the answer is in the question. 2, the symbols on the cards, or maybe one symbol will just jump out at you and then just, all right, so you have that to consider. 3, the key word assigned to the card. And of course, you can delve much deeper into the card at a later date, but we're not focusing on that today. You have the key word, and then you have the spreads question. So you have lots of good information right in front of you to interpret. So then you're looking for the whys, and you're looking for options, looking for reasons. And the end, and so what I'm going to be doing now, I'm going to be doing a sample reading, keeping it very general, so that you can see how this is done. And you will see that I'm referring back to what information I have in front of me. All right, so let me shuffle my cards. I'm using the Anna K Tarot deck. That's an Anna K deck. So just to introduce you to a current deck. All right. Now I'm placing the first card on the first position. Okay. All right. So, first question. What has happened in the past, which is the reason why you're asking this question? I pulled the Nine of Swords, and I would say with the Nine of Swords, okay, this is the reason why you're asking a question of what happened in the past. There must have been some kind of discomfort or unusual circumstances that truly burdened down your younger life, that obstacles that seemed to be too high to climb above, and a real struggle dealing with, as each thought ran through your mind, you would take it personally, you would take it deeper inside you, and then you recognized that it was in fact you were listening to these false thoughts regarding yourself, and you worked out most of the issues related to self-doubt, the heaviness of self-doubt. I mean, you earned those thoughts legitimately, but yet you recognized that this has to be dealt with, and you did deal with it throughout the rest of your life, and accomplished much, even though this is a huge thing to overcome. But this is why you're asking the question. The Six of Rods. So your assets, your resources that you should be using. Well, this card conveys that you have such a charismatic and strong, bold personality, and that draws people to you. They love working with you. They cheer you on. So you have your assets basically are the wonderful people that are there to support you. But then your hugest, that's not a word, I don't think, but your biggest asset is you, the personality, your stick-to-itiveness, that nothing is going to keep you down for long, that you create your own success. You decide, you define what success is in your own life. You are the definer of you, and that is a huge asset to wield within your story. Okay, moving forward and taking action. 8 of rods or wands. What opportunities are coming to help you? It looks like that there is a person or persons that are working with you, and that the opportunity is wide and open and clear communications, no matter how that communications shows up for you. You will grab that, take it, and utilize every form of communication that you can to move you forward. Yeah. The 4th position, what can you give yourself to gain opportunities? Ace of Wands. Oh, there's a lot of wands. Okay, well, that happens sometimes. What can you give yourself? I would say to embrace, celebrate your braveness, your ingenuity. Like, look, being fearless, knowing that, let's say you only had a simple stick that you needed to cross this valley, and you came up with a nice way to cross to the other side. And another opportunity that you're giving yourself is that you recognize that you are a bridge builder and you are a bridge tester, that you are on the front lines to test out that new thing. You'll be glad to be the first to take the first step on a new bridge. Five of rods. Okay, is there any more? Did I get all the rods? No, okay, there was swords there and swords there, right? So it wasn't all rods, all wands. Okay, 5 of rods. And the 5th question on the 5th position, are you going to attain, how are you going to attain it? All right. You're going to attain it by purposefully stepping out in such a way that you're smack in the middle of a challenge. And within that challenge will give you the next steps for attainment for this particular issue that you're working on. And remembering the original question was, how may I move past this issue? That makes sense, especially when you know the issue was this. That's what you're overcoming, even though there's not much to overcome because you have done much work. So in here it's talking about step right smack in the middle of a challenge. And that will show you how far you've grown. It's showing you. It doesn't have to show anyone else. That's not the point. It's showing you how strong the strength that you've always had. And it's going to show you other opportunities inside the challenge. Then 6, why you want this in your life. This is 8 of Swords. That certainly agrees with this. This is why you want it in your life, because you are saying to yourself, today is the last day that I'm going to see myself in this manner. I will see myself and show myself to the world how strong and such an infinite power that resides in everyone. Today, I now claim it, I take it, I know it's mine. I've lived a life, I've experienced many things, and I am willing to take the last bits of self-doubt and put it away. So she is finally saying, no more, this is it, this is the why. You're asking the question, why you want this in your life. So that's the 6th of the question, the 6th position of the question. And I kept it pretty surfaced because I only wanted to deal with the information I had in front of me so that you can see that anyone can do this. And yet I think maybe not anyone can do it. You have to have a heart of empathy so that you can really step into the shoes of at least what the cards are saying. And then that precious querent or seeker sitting across from you. And then you hope that the person leaves your table, or if you're on Zoom, with a little more hope in their heart, and with lots of directions, and with lots of things to think about related to how to wield their advantages. So next, and the last thing we're going to discuss is decide what type of deck you would enjoy reading. Examples can be a shamanic deck, a historic deck, a whimsical deck, a nice washed deck, which means there are no cards that some folks' sensibilities just are offended. Like they might not like the death card or the devil card, or they don't like any religious symbols. Nice washed cards basically mean that, or there's also nice washed readings. It just means that you're reading the seeker in a gentle, supportive manner. And if you are a reader that has a little bit of a chip on their shoulder and that they're always coming across, well, you need to straighten up your life. And then they go to the next seeker. Well, you need to straighten up your life. And they go to the next seeker. You need to straighten up your life. You know, you begin thinking maybe it's the reader that needs to have some shadow work for a little bit, and or hope that they become more self-aware that they keep giving the same answer to everyone because maybe they're really reading the cards that it's inward instead of reading them objectively. And I know in the beginning that's difficult to do, to read the cards objectively, but you can do it. Then there's dark decks or dark reading. And dark decks, you can do your own shadow work. As a reader, most of the time, I'll just keep it. That's a decision that you will really need to carefully consider if you want to do dark deck readings for another person. But I just wanted to let you know that they are available, and if you want to do your own shadow work with the dark deck, and basically they reveal the hidden under the surface, what's happening behind the scenes. Not that a regular deck or even a whimsical deck can do the same, because they can. But basically a dark deck is basically you get smacked in the face. Is what happens with working with the dark deck. In fact, I'll show you a few dark decks really quickly so you get a better idea. The New Era Elements Tarot. I'll just give you one picture to show you. And that doesn't look so dark. And you can use it as a regular deck like I do, because it's a lovely deck. And just because the color was dark doesn't make it a dark deck either. This is the Deviant Moon Tarot. The Night Sun. Dark Fairy Tale. The Barbary, which this once again, it can be used as a dark or not. The Z Tarot. The 8 Coins Tattoo Tarot. Yet the bottom line is this. Yes, to have beautiful artwork is wonderful, and an interesting theme is nice. Yet the most important thing regarding deck selection is readability. When looking at a card scene, you want to know what it means by the symbols. Sure, you can buy a deck and read the book informing you what all the symbols represent, which is very enjoyable, or you will buy a deck and there's many symbols floating around in the air, and that means you'll have to do, and no book, and you'll have to do some studying. What is that circle with the dot in the middle? Well, you find out that it represents the sun. What you're basically looking and studying that deck, and that's just as cool. But for now, because they but for now, that's what I'm focusing in on, very readable decks, and I'm going to be showing those to you now. In fact, some of the dark decks are very readable. And one example is the Dark Grimoire Tarot. I'll show you one card or two cards from that. There's one. It's very clear what that card's about. Is the person dealing with the person holding the jar, or is this the person inside the jar? What are we dealing with here? Or this is a woman that has lots and lots of voices, and she's basically saying, not interested, not listening to any of you. So the really clear interpretation or readability. And I think that the Anna K tarot is also, because you saw how readable all of these cards were. Let me pull out another one. I mean, yes, you have card that you just have the, you know, the queen there. So you, and then you see the sunflower, so you might have to do a little studying, or just intuitively decide what yellow means, what sunflowers mean. All right. So there you have it. And thank you so much for being here with me. And until next time, blessed be.
Hi, Steph.
Hi.
I'm just saying hi.
Okay.
Just waiting for. I'm going to edit a little bit of this piece out, so I just wanted to see how you're doing. But never mind.
So can I go now?
Oh, sure. I was just.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was,
What?
nothing. Plenty of time. I was just making sure everything was okay. We're gonna be editing out a little bit of you mixing up your cards, so I'll just tighten it up a little bit. That's all. Terrific. Oh, please continue at will.
So did you like it?
Yeah.
Oh, good. All right. So I'll start working on my next lesson, and then I'll let you know.
Okay.
All right.
That's what it was. I wasn't sure. Oh, okay.
What?
I wasn't completely sure that you had ended. I wanted to make sure before I said anything.
Oh gosh. All right. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. We'll just take off the tail end and let me stop the recording.
All right.
Yeah. Good. No, I liked it quite a bit. I was